There's basically 4 big features in Winter Army. One is a regiment system, the infantry arms race, a weather system. No Man's Land is an artillery update. This is the clan system that everyone has been asking for. First of all, there is a tag system finally, so you no longer have to add a tag to your Steam name. There is a role system with 3 roles: commander, officer, and member. Depending on your permission, you can invite players, you can discharge them. At a glance, if you have 50 people in your regiment, you can see where they are, right? You can see the region they're in, the squad they're in, and this is all available to you on the same screen, and it updates in real time. So, if somebody changes region, you'll see where they are. You have a text chat channel, a link to your Discord. We're adding faction-specific weapons to the tech tree for each faction. There's also going to be a whole bunch of new weapons. There's also weapons that we have redesigned in how they work. The sound effect system for the automatic weapons. Added more information to the weapon tooltips. For the new players, there's things like the ammo type that a weapon uses, and for the old players, we're actually surfacing damage type system.
That rifle that you guys have been using for years, since the creation of the game, is no longer a colonial weapon.
Yeah, that is actually
it has been replaced by this new weapon, this new rifle.
The original rifle is the Lowcaster, which is a warden rifle.
So this rifle you're about to see is the new default, or the new basic colonial rifle.
And tripod weapons, finally. I know you guys have been asking about this every third stream. So finally you can stop asking. They're finally coming, and there's even going to be more than what we had planned. Let's talk about the weather system. Fully dynamic weather system. It's world scope. So when weather happens, it's not just in the region. It can happen at the border, and it can span into multiple regions. There can even be a weather event that happens across the whole world, right? There's 2 types of weather events right now. There's a snowstorm and a rainstorm. You can see these screenshots here. This is Umbra Wildwood and Abandoned Ward, and as you can see, it's just completely transformed.
So any maps that had weather will no longer have weather in them in a static way. It'll be all dynamic now.
This is not just an aesthetic change to the world. Fighting through weather will change the way you fight.
If your faction has a vehicle that looks like it has tracks that should work well over snow, well, it's now going to work well over snow. You can see where the long game planning was there from when we added the thick treads on some of the tanks. And for vehicles that don't have that, they're going to have a harder time trying to drive through snow. Players will have a temperature. So if you are stuck out in a snowstorm for too long, your player will freeze. So worry about staying warm. You can stay warm by making a fire. You can stay warm by being inside a garrison house. You can stay warm by being inside a bunker. You can also stay warm by being in a vehicle as well. The rivers are going to freeze over. And imagine a place like the Abandoned Ward where there was always a bridge fight there, right? That if there's a long stalemate happening there, that can be broken up now because the river will become frozen and you can cross over.
So what impact on the ward does rain have?
The mud. Dirt areas can turn to mud, and you will get into a muddy state, which adds to your encumbrance.
So with new weather mechanics, how do we avoid vehicles freezing and keep them running during harsh winter weather?
Yeah, so you can build a fire pit. Just having your vehicle close to a fire pit is enough to keep it warm.
So driving long distances is going to be difficult. You have to plan your trips.
Fire is always the thing that warms players the fastest. So as you can see, the top left corner here, there's a status icon that shows when you're in warmth. Being indoors as well helps. It's not as effective as being beside a fire pit.
Do rivers freeze over time when a storm starts, or does it freeze all at once?
Weather events happen over a very long period of time. No Man's Land is a couple of things. First thing is it's a revamp of artillery in the game. Starting from how it fires, there's a new flight model that interacts with wind, interacts with the weather system. So this is going to be the light artillery variant on the warden side. To operate most effectively, you would need a crew of 3. So you have one person as the gunner, one person as the ammo runner, and the other person as the driver. Colonial variant is going to be a field platform.
I feel like this is the only one that's carrying over.
The accuracy of artillery has been drastically reduced. This is the Huber Exalt 150mm. This is the Warden variant of the heavy artillery. And finally, we have the Thunderbolt cannon. So one of the new features that unfortunately we didn't have time to show it off on the stream is the ammunition room. So players can add an ammunition room now to their bunker bases so that ammo runners have a place where they can retrieve it really quickly. Here's some screenshots of the No Man's Land and how it transforms. So up there is in Viper Pit, the bottom is Umbra Wildwood. So this is an example of what a bombardment can do. Completely changes the landscape. And here we can see what bombardment can do to a town. This is a sped up video of how landscape gets transformed into No Man's Land over time. So you see the difference here. The garrison houses are being completely leveled in some cases where they cannot be rebuilt.
Permanently deleted.
We got some new vehicles that we felt were necessary to fill the obvious gaps in the tech tree for each faction. Colonial mass-produced tank, the Falchion. So this is like Colonials finally getting their medium tank, but this is really cool because it introduces a new mechanic in the game, which is mass production bonus. You get 5 tanks instead of 3. The unique feature of this tank is that you're going to see a lot of them on the battlefield. So the Wardens get a scout tank.
You turned him into a teapot?
This vehicle is really cool because it's like the LUV. It's a map intelligence provider.
These tracks will now have a valid purpose when traversing snowstorms and snow.
The mortar light tank.
The Wardens have been dying for an open top vehicle for ages. So there you go.
It's the equivalent, of the mortar half track. Yes, on Wednesday, February 24th is when the update is going to go live. So that
Awesome.
is it.